for correspondence from Assistant City Engineer.
Okay, real quickly, South 83rd Street, in that it's quite narrow, 27 feet as opposed to 30. The council received a request by a resident asking to allow parking on both sides of the street so he could park overnight on the street. So South 83rd Street does not have parking on the west side of it, does not allow parking. This is the 2100 block. So it does have the alternate every other night parking that we have in the whole city. So on every other night, this resident has to park on a different street because of the alternate side parking. Those no parking rules have been in effect since 1965. This is the first complaint we've received on this. Looking at the resident's home, there is a driveway. He says that he can't use the driveway. I don't know the reasoning. So he's asked the city to do something about this. So I put together a communication just kind of explaining that there are some, if you allowed parking on both sides of the street, there are many negatives or some questions that would take place, probably getting other complaints. So I put the communication together and I wanted to discuss what possible solution we have to the problem. I did ask police, and they are fine. One solution I guess we had was to just not have the alternate side parking for this kind of unique area. The police department would be okay with that. Department of Public Works was not in favor of that because they would have to specially sign it every time they want to do leaf pickup, street cleaning, snow plowing, and it would create, a fairly substantial burden for them. So I guess wanted to bring it to the attention of the board. I can discuss possible solutions. Obviously, a solution is one of the solutions is to leave it as it is now as well. So I'd try to kind of outline it. And
why can't this guy park in his driveway? Is he an owner or a tenant?
I do not know that. Has he? Have you?
You cannot ask. You can tell me whether he's an owner or a tenant. So.
Okay. I mean, I can look up that address, but I don't know that.
Alderman Rowe?
Yes, go ahead, Alderman.
I just kind of want to bring everybody up to speed. We all received correspondence from this resident. With the new district maps, that's not my district, but it's very close to some of the area of the new district that we were surveying. So I put a call through to Rob because oftentimes as an alder, we get calls about parking situations quite often. And I wanted to know if there were any subsequent streets that modeled after this one, because I noticed this entire stretch goes a number of blocks. And Rob gave me a very thorough explanation as to why it is, and I can see why I would support keeping it as is. You have one person since 1965 that has complained. We can't change signs just for one person. We have to take a look at the recommendations of the engineering department. I live on a more narrow street, and what I see would be problematic with that alternate parking or having both side parking is exactly the example we have today with all the snow. And you've got one parking on this side, one parking on that side. How do we access emergency vehicles? It's not absolutely convenient for those residents who only have the one-sided parking, but I think the pros outweigh the cons on this. And that's pretty much what my opinion is on it. I suggested whenever a constituent reaches out to me with issues like that is to go around to their neighbors and get a petition and have them sign off on it, because what may be okay for you is going to become a problem for your neighbor. So that would be a suggested approach. That's it.
Anybody else?
Oh,
Go ahead, Alderman.
Chair. Rob, you have indicated that they don't choose to use their driveway. Is that correct? And why have they chosen to go that route, you might say?
I don't know. He in his communication, he just said, if I could park in my driveway, I would, but I am unable to do so.
That would be the solution to the
Yeah.
problem.
Sure would, sure would.
Alderman Road, if I may, are you finished, Rosie?
Yes.
Okay. As an owner occupied property, I have a duplex. I do not give driveway privileges to a tenant. So that could very well be this reason, because I'm owner occupied and I use my driveway.
Well, we have to find out what this reason is, or if he is a tenant or an owner.
How would that change it, if I may ask?
I'm thinking if he's an owner, why wouldn't he park in his own driveway?
Well, it would be common sense. He would probably be doing it if it
Right.
was the case.
And one person is not a clear majority, so can we leave it? What is before us? I mean, I can read what's before us, but
We
it
just,
looks like it is. Alderman Stefanski?
Did you said that you maybe had some solutions or ideas?
Well, the one thought I had was to not have the alternate side parking for these blocks where there's just parking on one side of the street. So they wouldn't have to move every other night, or they wouldn't have to park on a different street every other night.
That would be a problem during a snow emergency.
But there'd be a problem, and it'd be leaf pickup, street sweeping. And so every time the DPW wanted to do that, they'd have to put out temporary signs the day before and then take them down. So it would be a substantial hardship for them.
And I just wanted it to be looked at. That's why I brought it up, because
Okay.
the constituent,
Yeah.
brought it to me and
Right.
stuff with you guys. So
Yep.
So do we have a consensus here or not?
I'll make a motion to place on file. Is that what we need to do on it?
Sure.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 25, 2024-0023 correspondence from city engineer regarding South 118th Street sidewalk survey results. And I will turn it over to either one of you two.
thank you. In November, had a correspondence communication with the board about streets that don't have sidewalk, both a global conversation and then specifically to 118th Street. The engineering department came away from that with the understanding that we were to survey each street as they came forward on the paving plan, and gather the results and report them back to the board, and then the board would make that decision on whether they wanted to include sidewalks on that project or not, whether they wanted to grade it and prepare it for sidewalks, or just to reconstruct the street as it is today, basically, with no preparation for sidewalks. So that's what we followed for 118th Street. Rob prepared this correspondence for you to kind of outline what our survey results were. We sent a letter to all the property owners along the street. We had 11 responses from the Survey Monkey. All the responses from that were no sidewalks. We received 2 phone calls. Again, they were not in favor of sidewalks. We received 4 emails. And again, then 3 of those were no sidewalk, and 1 person would like to see option 2, which is to prepare it for future sidewalks. I know there was a Alderwoman Grisham, you put something out on Facebook to the whole area, and gathered 80 some comments from that.
We're at about 100 now.
Sure,
I'm sorry,
sure.
I didn't ask. to
No,
speak.
that's okay. And my understanding from your emails were is overwhelmingly that the entire area is not in favor of sidewalk. But tonight we were talking specifically about 118th Street. So I just want to,
So your survey does not want sidewalks.
Well, if I may speak. And I thank you for bringing this back. When we had the discussion as far as what direction, and that's how you presented it, what direction on these projects should we go? And I think it was the consensus at that time. I misunderstood it possibly, that it was just to see how this 118 went. And then that we would look at finding a way to communicate with the community, those that are directly impacted, which would be District 4 and 5, typically, because in years past, Alderman Road had stated, because he's been here much longer than I have, no offense, but he could say,
All farmland.
right, I remember, you probably were milking the cows. But with that being said, he had quoted Alderman Barzak when he was in the seat that I sit in for him now, and said that they didn't want sidewalks then, they don't want sidewalks now. And so after that meeting, and I know this is directly about 118, I went on Rainbow Gardens, which isn't an open public forum. It's those neighbors that would be directly impacted, and kind of stated in transparency this discussion that we had. So I could collect data as a representative and do my due diligence in research, because people may not want to wait for the surveys and whatnot, and I'm all about not wasting resources going forward. If 30 years ago they didn't want sidewalks, and it's 100% of 100 people that reached out to me and get them all up in arms about it, I think that we should hear what they have to say. It's their neighborhoods. They bought these homes for a more rural feel in an urban environment, if that makes sense. I expressed how I felt about, landscape and other things and having a concrete city. So without being on a soapbox, I just want to make sure that I am representing them by sharing their thoughts with you. And we do have quite a few that are in the audience who aren't going to speak, but just are here in support of stating that they don't want sidewalks.
And I appreciate your efforts, and the engineering department does. My concern with making a decision for the whole area at this time is I'm not sure when streets are going to come up in the future.
Right.
Because it could be 5 years that the next street in this area comes forward. And now we've made a decision, people have changed, and now they don't have a voice in it. So I actually, at first it was had to think about it a little bit, how we would incorporate this survey into our design process. But I think it's actually a good way to do it, because then we get an accurate read of what the people at this time when we're coming to do the street is. So we would like to continue on this path right now. Not saying that we shouldn't have, that the board shouldn't maybe have a global conversation about everywhere in the city that doesn't have sidewalk in the future. And I would propose that it be a standalone, not in the middle of a council meeting, so we can have some in-depth discussion about it. But for the moment, I think engineering is very comfortable doing the street-by-street cases and surveying each street as it comes forward, and then bring those results back, and then the board can make those directions to us, based on whatever information you deem is appropriate to make
And
those decisions.
Chairman Root, if I may, I want to go to Kale on this, or Rebecca, because we already had given this direction, and we are really just here to hear the report. And I think this wouldn't be the forum right now to make that decision, so to speak, of more direction going forward. If we want to revisit this topic, I think we need to bring it back on the agenda for another discussion point. Am I correct?
Sure. So, Alderperson Grisham, this is just a correspondence, so no action could be taken off this item tonight. It would need a separate type of approval to ever take action to put a sidewalk in. I did get your request to draft a policy on this topic for a future meeting, and so I'll be doing that. And so I think that would probably be the best time to talk globally more about this topic, is when that policy is on the agenda, and that's what the council wishes to do. So this is only germane to 118th Street, and it's just a correspondence. So it's not going to be anything that is actionable. One idea, too, just in hearing the parties and trying to find a resolution, because the status quo is currently no sidewalks, a good way to approach it might be it would just take simply a majority of residents to approve it, as opposed to trying to weigh the yeses and nos, just count how many yeses come in.
So the engineering department just has an issue because the city does have a complete street policy that includes a sidewalk and an ordinance that says you should include sidewalk. So that's why we kind of brought it forward in the first place.
Which is exactly why in the future, when that policy is on the agenda, these
Okay.
two concepts will
Right.
have to be debated.
Right, and that poses a question because I spoke with Rob about that, if it was a criteria point. And I was told contrary, but we can discuss that at the upcoming meeting that we're going to put on the agenda. But for transparency to my colleagues, I did ask Attorney Decker to put together a resolution regarding the sidewalks. So we can discuss that at another point, but that was part of the reason why I asked for feedback from the residents. Because rather than stressing everybody out and getting them stressed out about their area, even if it's a 5-year deal, people are saying literally, I'll move. And we don't want them thinking that way, that they're going to put their homes for sale because they're against something like this. So
Okay.
that's about it. Thank you, Chairman.
So we reported the results.
So we're
Thank
not
you.
putting sidewalks in, correct?
Nope. Motion to place on file?
We're just placing this on file, and I have to we need to bring a different correspondence to get direction on whether we, or we just,
I think it would be the discussion of the resolution.
Correct.
So, Mr. Chair, on a future meeting, there'll be a new policy and potential code changes to implement the ideas that Alderperson Grisham brought forward with me, and at that point in time, we'll discuss whether the council should move forward with it. At that point, I'm sure the committee will seek input from engineering.
so for 118th Street or globally,
It's a global concept for the policy, but
and it would
tonight,
impact 118th Street.
But we're doing it locally.
Okay.
No, 100, you're not.
108
No.
No sidewalks on, I just,
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
no. As I know, it's a no. Are we to vote?
no.
That's what I thought. We're just going to place it on file, so it's a
I'm
no.
seconding it.
Right.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
You just let that go. My first applause.
Exactly. Okay, item 26. Excuse me. 2024-0026. Correspondence from city engineer regarding the new street name for Wisdot constructed street at South 60th Street by Wisdot Sign Shop. Any discussion? I'm thinking Weigel Drive. but-
Weigel Drive. He's getting all of the glory tonight. Right?
It just came to me.
We want to name it after anybody alive.
So, I wanted to,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
wanted to just bring forward this communication to get everybody starting to think about it. Back in July of last year, we talked about how this street is going to move forward now that the east-west corridor is moving forward, and talked about some different things with it, and had indicated at that time that this new street will need a name. DOT has moved this forward, and they need a name.
Chalmers Drive.
So we suggested a few. Please feel free to come up with your own. We will have it for an actionable item at the next Board of Public Works, but I wanted everybody to start to think about it, come up with name. I like the West Alice Avenue. I think it's kind of cool, but that's,
How about Liberace Drive?
There you go.
there you go. We'll take,
Suggestion,
so,
how
but
do we come to some
Okay.
agreement on a name?
Just throw out ideas.
Not today. That's
No.
not what we're, yeah.
That's
So,
right.
so think about it, and then we can discuss and figure out a path.
Blind
on
vote.
How to get it narrowed down.
Okay.
So, but I just wanted to introduce that and get it on everybody's radar.
Okay. Motion to place on file?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We place on file. And our public hearing item number 27, Resolution 2024-0011, resolution confirms and adopts the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of the general area bounded by West Cleveland Avenue to the Union Pacific Railroad, South 92nd Street to South 78th Street.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Okay, calling Public Safety Committee meeting to order. We have item 31, 2024-0012, December 18th, 2023 Public Safety Committee minutes.
Motion approved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, I should have asked for discussion. Motion carries. Item 32, R 2024-0001, resolution to establish special zoning exception application fee.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
The fee goes along with the approval that the council made back in December. There is a reference in the special zoning exception ordinance that there should be a fee. No fee was established at that time, so this is just establishing that fee.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this item?
Move to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? And there's a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 33, 2024-009, 2023-2025 new operators license bartender Class D operator application for Doreen Gaster. First appearance is Miss Gaster here.
Motion to place on file.
Second.
Okay,
I'm
there.
sorry. Motion to place on hold. Sorry.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any discussion? Motion carries. 34, item 34, 2024-0013, 2023-25, new operators license bartender Class D operator application for Ariana McCarthy. First appearance is Miss McCarthy here. Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to hold, place on hold.
Oh, and I do have a question prior to this. Has there been correspondence from either Doreen Gaster or Miss McCarthy?
No, but we do have correspondence from the next one.
Okay, so there's a no and a no, and there was a motion to,
Place on hold.
okay, is there a second?
Aye. Second.
Okay, motion a second, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 35, 2024-0019, 2023-25 new operators license bartender Class D operator application for Joshua Coleman. First appearance, the floor is yours, Rebecca.
He requested that this item be held, and he understands that he needs to come to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to place on hold.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 36, 2024-0030, discussion regarding senior center membership and programs. And we're going to bring up Ashley Palin and Bob Leisho from the health department to go over this. Just so everybody's aware, I asked that this discussion be brought forward regarding the senior center membership. There's been changes that I was unaware of that I thought maybe the council would want to be aware of, and I heard it through the grapevine more than anything, people coming to me from the senior center, that there was going to be fee-based programming now, and that membership was going to be eliminated, but classes and other things were going to be fee-based. And the people who came to me were not in favor, but in fairness, I spoke with both Ashley and Bob. There was a presentation, and that's just the synopsis right now. They can go over how they presented it to the senior center and the Commission on Aging, if I'm correct, right? Yep. Okay, go ahead, thank you.
Yeah, so just, I'll take one minute just to kind of, thank you for the opportunity to what really is in effect an updated new business plan for the senior center. So to Alderwoman Grisham's point, we're really looking at a structure that is in alignment with the city as well as the health department strategic plans around health equity and equity in general. And so Ashley will get into some of the details in terms of how that's justified. But I just wanted to, point out to the committee that, that we are working in alignment with the respective city plan as well as the health department plan to try and ensure that the senior center itself as a facility has increased access to those 55 and older who might have some income limitations. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ashley.
Sure. So I'm going to go over what the new membership model is, the reason behind that change, and what it's currently looking like in 2024. But I do want to start with the historical context of what it's looked like in 2023 and years past, just so if you don't have a full picture of how the membership model functioned previously, you can have that understanding. So it started in 2023, and as far back as I've worked here, if not longer, there has been a membership fee to join the senior center. It's been recently $20 for West Atlas, West Milwaukee residents, $25 for non-residents. And then there has always been fees for our programs in addition to that. So there have been fees for programs that have a cost, such as stained glass, our fiber arts, our creativity, our painting classes. Some of our parties have always had a small fee associated with them, and that was the model in past. Was that there was a membership fee as well as a fee base for some of our services that require expenses to operate. Moving forward in 2024, the change that we made is that we moved from that $20 to $25 annual membership to be able to just kind of walk in the door to a free-based membership. So there's no longer a fee to be able to use probably about 85 to 90% of our services, and that includes these ones listed here, which is our senior center dining site, which is a partnership with the Milwaukee County Meal Program. We have a bunch of exercise classes that remain free, including line dancing, arthritis, qigong, as well as all of our evidence-based programming that our health department nurses and other staff teach in the senior center. All of that will remain free. We have a bunch of different card, table, and just general fun groups that currently exist as our social opportunities. Those will be, will be free. Our Wii Bowling group, which is surprisingly our most passionate and rowdy group at the senior center. If you go over there, you will hear them at any point in the building. That will be a free service, as well as we do movie screenings, sports screenings, watching baseball games, things like that. And a bunch of our intellectual and skill-based pursuits will be free. So we have knitting clubs, we have a book club, we have a conversational Spanish club. One of our members is teaching some basic Spanish, and then they go out to different restaurants to, order in Spanish and use those skills. Chess clubs and a bunch of other programs there too. We also have our social worker that comes in weekly, and then we have representatives from Milwaukee County that come in to just provide that on-site, in-person assistance with referral to services. That will be free for everyone, so there won't be that fee to access that. And then lastly, the material resources. So we have the ability for people to use books, puzzles. Our computer lab is open for anyone throughout the entire time the building's open. We have a very cool billiards room in the bottom of the senior center to shoot some pool or play some air hockey, and just a bunch of other resources. So these will all be free. And then the next slide here will talk about the fees. So as I said previously, I will point out which of these fees existed prior to this year, and it's the majority of them. So stained glass is going to have a $34 per quarter fee in 2024 moving forward. And again, this is a pilot program, and we're assessing fees and very much looking and having constant feedback to ensure that it's appropriate for the level it's at. Previous to this, there was a per project fee for stained glass. It switched over to that $34 per quarter fee for a few different reasons. One, we have 1.5 staff members that work at the senior center, and a lot of our work is done by volunteers. Just standardizing that makes it a lot easier for fiscal responsibility of our programs versus having them assess each individual project to determine the cost. So it makes it a little bit easier there. So that fee, it is, for the majority of people, slightly higher than maybe what they paid last year, but not much, because they were paying per project. They're no longer paying that anymore. They're paying the quarter fee. Same goes for fiber arts. It's $15 per month. There's 3 programs offered, 3 projects per month. Okay, thank you. And so that breaks down to about $5 per project. That was essentially what it was in past prior to this year was that it was each project kind of roughly broke down to that amount that people had to pay. This is just making it easier again for fiscal management to have it be a set fee. Painting went up, I believe, $5 for the 4-week course. It used to be $15 for the 4 weeks. Crafts, I think that's a consistent fee. Our parties used to be a variety of paid for and free depending on the level of activities and food that were provided. So we're just really going to focus on having more robust programs, or parties that have, snacks, a lot of activities. And in order to accommodate that, we're having a $10 per person fee. And then our fitness center, so as I mentioned previously, all of our fitness classes will remain free, but our fitness center is a special area up on our second floor where we have a bunch of different fitness equipment, including new steps, ellipticals, treadmills, bikes, weightlifting equipment. We have been making some substantial financial investments into that fitness center over the last couple years. Previously, prior to my involvement at the senior center, all of that equipment was donated from citizens, and when I started, we brought in maintenance staff to a maintenance company of fitness equipment to do an overall assessment, and at that time it was determined that the majority of the equipment was either in disrepair or unsafe to continue use. So we worked with the Commission on Aging to purchase a few $1,000s worth of replacement equipment that was largely used, a few new items, but we purchased used and refurbished versus getting it from a local resident, just because those machines are being pounded on multiple times a week, and they really need to be more of a commercial grade versus a home use item. So that will have a $15 fee, and that previously was included in the $20 or $25 membership. Currently we have about 35 people that use the fitness center, so they will be the only ones that will be charging that or be paying that fee. So looking at this new model, so the model that we're going forward with in 2024, this is nothing new. This is not something we brainstormed without, looking at our other local senior centers and just having a list here of the others in the area that use a very similar model where it's free to enter, and then they have fees for some of their classes that have an operating cost. So looking at the Serving Older Adult Senior Centers, the United Community Center in downtown Milwaukee, several of the ones throughout Waukesha County, and then others in the area like Cedarburg, Fort Atkinson, Wauwatosa, and just a bunch of them are using this model. So this is, nothing new. It's functioned really well at a lot of these other senior centers, and we looked towards them to, develop this model. And then how will this help? So as Bob mentioned, the health department has oversight of the senior center, and we focus a lot on equity and ensuring that everyone has access. The senior center membership requirements, they're still there. You still have to be a member to enter the senior center. I know some of the concerns have been, safety related. So there is still a code of conduct. You do have to, sign up to be a member. You have to wear a lanyard saying that you're a member. We have your information. Be 55 years of age. But as you can see here, these statistics show the income level of our current membership, and about just under 70% of our current memberships are rated low income with the federal poverty level. So the majority of the people accessing our senior center are lower income, and although $20 or $25 might not seem like a lot to you or I for a cost to be able to just walk into the building, that can be very limiting for people on a very fixed budget. So again, hitting on that, so we have same-day sign-up. You still have to be a member. You can walk in and become a member. Previously, you'd walk in, we would give you a tour. You either had to make that decision to pay your membership fee to stay in the building and access our services, or you'd have to leave and come back. Looking at perception of value, I know I do this all the time when you go somewhere and you're like, am I really going to use this? Is it really worth that money? Am I going to go to that gym? Am I going to go to that, social club? And we had a lot of people that were like, I don't know if I really want to spend $25. That might be all of their, spending income for that month or that quarter. And to put that into something and not know how many times they're going to go to a senior center without having spent time there was a deterrent for some of our members, as well as looking at the elderly population and our social worker, as well as working with the Milwaukee County. There are a lot of financially abused people in the elderly population, so those might be where they are just not the ones leading the control of their own personal finances. They may have a family member who's doing that for them, or for whatever reason, don't have the ability to be the primary person in charge of their finances, and having to get someone else to approve or pay for the membership fee so that they can access the building is a very limiting factor. And then here, just again, focusing on the equity, this is just some statistics looking at the population as a whole for Waukesha, or for, not Waukesha, West Allis. So we have our black households make 67% of what our white households do. Currently, prior to 2023, our membership makeup was largely Caucasian. So we're looking at trying to encourage our Hispanic and black populations to become senior center members. And if we look at these statistics, that generally it functions as being also our lower income populations too. And then additionally, we have that 12% of our households do not have a computer or internet, and one of the services that this is providing for free is a computer lab that's staffed with a retired tech person who helps people out and kind of takes that burden off of the library as well. And then lastly, just hitting on that there's a reduction in social isolation and loneliness. We have heard from all of our members, as well as many statistics throughout the county, that in the aging population, loneliness and isolation is the is one of the largest indicators for happiness, success, mental health, overall wellness. And the senior center really is a community. It's people that come there regularly that really many of them come for services, but a lot of them just come to, sit in the lobby, do a puzzle, socialize, and spend time together. And having a center where everyone, regardless of their financial income, can access those basic services is why we made it this change. We wanted everyone to be able to come in. If you have the disposable income to maybe be able to pay for some of those higher cost arts and crafts services, by all means, go ahead and do so. But if that's not something that you can financially afford, there's still a ton of services that you can access at the senior center for free.
Talking about a scholarship program as well.
Yes, I can hit on that quickly. So we are in the process of developing a scholarship program too. There's going to be I think there's 5 or 6 different programs that you can be a part of in Milwaukee County or submit your tax return essentially. And if you're at a lower income level, I think it's 200% of the federal poverty level, we would give you a $50 scholarship that you could use for any of our paid services. That wouldn't mean that you'd be able to use them all because, if you did everything, it would be more than that. But you could pick and choose and still participate in our paid for services, even if you didn't have the financial capacity to do so.
Okay, thank you. That was a lot to unpack here for me personally. The first thing that came to mind when you said a $25 fee is a lot for any senior to bite off, first thing I would have thought is change the fee schedule to a quarterly to, break it down, and maybe they just want to try it out for that 4-month period or 3-month period and decide it isn't for them. Second thing that stood out to me, and I guess my question would be, was that even a thought or an option to think that let's break this down rather than go to, all these little fees, because that too is a lot for seniors because they're trying to budget things. I mean, and as well as I, we want health equity, but we also have seniors that are rationing medications and other things, and we want them to be able to socialize. And I think having a membership actually makes them feel part of something that they call their own, which we know that has happened over the years. And it gives that little bit of shelter of what you had to, go over as far as their safety and, who's in their opinion Joe Schmo coming in off the street. And I know, Bob, you deal with that a lot because it's a club. It's a center, but you want to be able to have anybody come in. You want people to feel welcome, and sometimes, I'm going to be honest, you may not feel welcome because it's just a specific network of people that are in there. So that would be the first thing that I thought. As far as my feedback that I have received and how this was brought to my attention, it really was a client of mine. She came in and just kind of without, breaking, I wouldn't give her name, but she's a person who struggles with mental health issues. And I was so happy to hear that she took my advice and her doctor's advice and went over to the senior center. She started becoming social. She started participating in classes. She was, very happy. And she came in and she said, well, I guess it's over for me now. And I just wanted to know, are you hearing this feedback? And if you are, that's why I love the fact that you're working on the scholarships, because that was something that I would hope that no one is left out, you know, and that they all have an opportunity. I have another example. I have somebody who has MS, who was recently diagnosed with cancer and has MS, using the gym just to walk. Are we really charging $15 for people to walk around the gym?
Not for the gym, for the access to the fitness center.
So that the fitness center, is there walking areas?
No, it's a room
So it
about
would-
this size.
Okay. But, and I do know that back in the day, pretty much everything that I was told was in the senior center, billiard tables and whatnot, really came through the Commission on Aging and volunteers. So I'm glad that you went over the safety protocol for the equipment and whatnot, because I'm sure a lot of it was dated. But I just really wanted to go over this and hear the reasoning behind the fees, and also the fact that it was never really brought to us in the first place. I think when we're looking at that, anything to do with the money aspect of it, how are you benefiting costs with this? Do you have any of the data outside the 1.5 employees that we pay? Because so much of the work done at the senior center is volunteer. Don't they have a trust?
Yes, we do have a senior center trust.
Okay, so those volunteers that come in and they sell their blankets and they bake their cookies and they earn those monies, it goes into a trust.
It goes in, well, it can, but it largely goes into our fundraising fund, which is
Okay.
used to fund like our parties, and because even $10, that doesn't cover the cost of what it actually takes to,
Right.
to throw a party for everyone. So yes, it goes into funding the senior center.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I hit on all the points. So the first one, we did look at different opportunities for the membership model, of it being quarterly, biannually, different ways of doing it, and we really came back to that limiting factor of the financially abused persons, and just, why is there a fee that says that you can't walk through the door and use a service that is funded for the senior center, or for the seniors in our community? Why do you have to have a fee to even just walk through the door and use any of our services? And really, the majority of the services that are listed there that we have are free. They cost very little to nothing to run, so it just made sense to allow everyone to have access to those. As I mentioned previously, prior to this membership model, there were fees for all of these services up here. I think there was maybe a misconception by some of our members that hadn't used all of those programs, that it was free before to, let's say, use stained glass or do painting, and now we're charging a fee. There's always been a fee. We just made a small increase to that fee. So there's always been that fee. We make, based on our program fees and our membership costs as of past years, we make roughly about $6,000 a year in revenue. So it's not a large... We're not making money off the seniors when you talk about how much we're taking in versus how much we spend on our programs, our activities, staff, building maintenance, all of that. There's not a large cost that we're taking in there. We expect that we'll probably maintain roughly around the same amount of revenue, if not a slight decrease. We have talked about that at the Commission on Aging. I don't think, we are not in the business to try to make money off seniors, and I don't think the city is either. So if we see a slight reduction in how much we're making, we have the Senior Center Trust and other fundraising opportunities we're looking at that can supplement if we need to on a city fiscal level. This is where we're starting. We're doing Shannon, the Senior Center Coordinator, Sharon Roy, the Senior Center Administrative Assistant, and I do a bi-weekly meeting to look at where we're at just in the last month of 2023 and the beginning of 2024 here, to ensure that we're just kind of seeing where we're at falling for fees, to make sure that we're not over charging or undercharging. We want to be very cognizant of the costs, and then that's why we also are implementing this scholarship model as well, to ensure that people
So again,
have access.
this is a pilot, and I think we've made that clear a couple times. And so I think along the lines of what Ashley's talking about, the routine monitoring and very quick ability to make any adjustments as needed. So if we find that we are just not reaching capacity, or we're just not getting enrollment in certain classes, and it's large part because of the fees, and we have the ability to make some adjustments along the way. So so there's some flexibility. There's a lot of flexibility to this model. And then too, yeah, I mean, we don't run it as a country club, right? I mean, this is a taxpayer-based center.
Right.
So again, in concept, why would you even charge anything, and why has there been a charge? Because literally anybody should be able just to go in and use that at no cost. And so that's part of the rationale that goes into the decision making.
And then just to provide some context on how this came to be, so it was proposed to the Commission on Aging in August of 2023. At that time, we gave a much more built-out presentation than this, and it was approved unanimously for us to implement in 2024. We then came back every month for an update with where we're at in the planning. It was rolled out to all membership at the beginning of November. I think it was like November 6th or so. We rolled it out to about 2 months before 2024 so that they had time to learn about the process, ask questions, provide feedback. We had multiple sessions for them to provide us feedback. We were very open to hearing, and a lot of those points that were brought up were also, they're being used in our current process now. For there's some concerns about safety. We're definitely open to hearing them. We've been doing this now for a good 16 days. As expected, we have had no safety or security issues. I don't anticipate any. It's a fully locked down building. You have to buzz to get
Right.
in. There's a code of conduct that has always been in place, and we continue to enforce that. We as the senior center coordinator and the health officer and deputy health officer have the ability to restrict or deny anyone's membership if there is any need to do so, and we have done disciplinary action on people in the past, so we would continue to do that if there was any concerns about safety or wellness at the center. So I don't anticipate that being a concern at all by opening our doors to more people. If anything, I think there's just some general fear about that, but overall I think that everyone should have access to our senior center, not just those that are financially able.
Thank you. I do have one question circling back to policy, and I don't know if it's true. I just heard it. Are these fees for classes non-refundable in the event a senior is not feeling well, cannot attend an event or otherwise? Because that's what I was told, that there was a senior who signed up for a particular event. She has not asked for the money back, but she was told that it was non-refundable. So when we're really talking about those types of things, what would it have been to give that refund? I know nobody would want to abuse, you don't want that abused where people just don't show up because they don't feel like it. But I think that's something that should be looked at.
Yeah, it's a few different ways. So when it comes to parties, that is a non-refundable fee, and that's just because we purchase all of the supplies based on those that enroll for the party. So you RSVP to the party. We use that funding that we come in to, to build up the party. So that particular fee has been and has always been, prior to even 2023, a non-refundable fee. The other ones, however, we have discussed with the Commission on Aging as well as the membership that knowing that the senior population, you've got a lot going on. You might have surgeries, health things that come up, whatever it may be. So if, just notify us, the senior center coordinator, myself, we want to be flexible with you. So if you, find out that you have this health issue and you paid for a quarter of stained glass and you're not going to be able to come to all of them, we'll make a note of that, put you on hold, and then when you want to come back, you can do another one, or we can discuss some sort of refund if that's something you're interested in doing as well. So for everything except for the party there and the senior center, I guess I'm not sure for the senior center fitness center, because that's per year and it's a $15 fee, so about just over $1 a month. There is the ability to be flexible.
Okay, so
with
it's
that.
only, it's exclusive to parties.
Correct, yes.
For supplies that you have to purchase. Okay.
Yeah, and then just as a note there on the bottom to throw out that we will always maintain an annual holiday party in December that is free for everyone. We want everyone to have the ability to have a place to go around the holiday season, so that will always remain a free party and has been in the past few, where we provide a full meal and it's a meal and food, and it's a larger party that will have no fee.
All right. Thank you for answering all my questions. Alderman Stefanski?
First off, I would never want to see a senior turned away if they can't afford it. If they can't afford it, we need to figure out a way to get them to be able to do it. Have you guys ever done any kind of campaign or anything? You know how churches have people will money to them?
Yeah, we do have people that do that through our senior center trust. Yes.
All right. Just
Yep.
looking for other.
Yeah, and certainly in the course of just even kind of publicizing this, we had, I don't know, in some of the public meetings that we had, a handful of people just say, if you run into it, they would be willing to make that donation.
And then my last question is, the Commission on Aging, How many people are on that commission of aging are that age of being able to be on in the senior center?
All except one. All except one, who's our member from the ARIS Senior Center,
So
who
we're getting a
is an
consensus
employee.
from people who are able to be using senior. Okay, that's what
Yes, and they're all active members of the Senior Center too.
Alderman Turner?
Okay, just so you know, I have, when I walk at the rec center, I meet a lot of the people from that there. And so far, I've gotten some very positive feedback about the fees. And one person in particular who's we walk all the time, and he says that it's not that big a deal. It really is good for him. He thinks it makes a lot of sense. The other thing is what you mentioned too, and I think we need to open it up to make, because there's people out there, because I deal with a lot of the seniors in the apartment buildings over there, and they're really kind of lonely. Mm-hmm. And I suggest that to them. And I think, like you said, some people, they don't want all those groups in there, but there's people who really need it. Right. And when they find out that that it's going to work pretty well for them, I think it does them a lot of good. So I commend the program.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Adrian. This is Adrian, our youth government person.
I didn't even know about this. Like, I mean, obviously I wouldn't know a lot about it, but hearing about it, I'm kind of mad I can't sign up for it. Like,
I know, there's some really good programs.
You gotta be 55.
You can always volunteer.
So, I think this is really cool.
Well, I am a senior. I could bring a friend.
Or like he said, you could volunteer there.
Yes, you can volunteer.
About volunteer opportunities. Are there, like, what are the kind of the volunteer opportunities for, like, teens or...
Really anything. So, we are always looking for volunteers, and that's something we've talked about a lot lately, is that for the most part, our volunteers...
She's the center coordinator, so she's there every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let all the details.
Oh, I was just going to say, for the most part, they're largely our senior center members that volunteer, but we want to get a more diverse volunteer population as well, that it doesn't just have to be seniors that can volunteer. We want to open it up to everyone and encourage, family members or just general community members to share your talents with the senior population.
They would love you.
They would. Go ahead.
Are you good with tech?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I mean,
Smartphones?
I hope
yeah.
I would think.
Oh, yeah.
You should teach a class at the senior center.
Good idea. Yeah.
Right.
We have had that over the summer where we had a high school student that would come in and help with cell phone and iPad use,
Yeah.
and
Just
just
don't try to get into
volunteered
the
to
Wii.
assist.
Don't get in the wee way. Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Alderwoman Ranky.
I think the senior center offers a wonderful service to our people. Ashley and obviously Shannon do a wonderful job of just listening sometimes to some of those seniors that have problems. And previously the director that was in charge, she said, people just don't realize what good this senior center does. I attended that meeting that you had for your people, and I have to say that this is what boggles me, my mind, you might say. They had no problem paying the $25 fee or the $20 fee. However, they did have a problem with paying extra for these classes. Now, we in our on the council look at the revenue source. Basically, how have you made up, how will you make up the revenue from the membership that was charged that you don't no longer charge?
Yeah,
I had heard, and one more statement.
Go ahead.
I had heard, basically that the senior center is not self-sustaining, which concerns me. So we look at this, the council looks at this in a different light. How will you make up this revenue?
Yeah, I mean, I will be clear that if we didn't have the tax levy money supporting the senior center, we would not be able to operate. It's largely funded primarily by our tax levy as well as some of our senior center trust fund and fundraising. So the difference that we're planning to make up for what we had in our membership is a part of it is being made up for in a slight increase to the fees here that I'm showing. The other part is that we're looking at other fundraising opportunities. So we're working currently with our public health specialists within our health department, and then as we get farther down the road, we want to work with our communications department to look at things that other senior centers do, and such as selling ads in our senior center newsletter to local like senior services in the area. So it could be they spend $30 and they pay for their business to be advertised in our senior center newsletter, whatever it may be, and try to supplement through, not through the seniors themselves, but some of the other services or other areas in the community, and have them make up the cost.
It's definitely a wonderful thing for our community to have this. We saw there was cause at one time that maybe it would close, and we had an avalanche of seniors coming to our council meeting and saying a lot of things happen at this senior center that are really positive for our community. And we kind of changed our mind on that. If there was any thought given to this idea because of the senior input. So I have to say you are off for the volunteers, because basically they carry the senior center.
Absolutely.
And thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Alderwoman Ranke. Alderman Stefanski?
One of the suggestions, have you guys ever thought of, for the craft stuff, teaming up with Hobby Lobby, since they're local and they're right down the road from the senior center, teaming up with them on getting a major discount or having them sponsor in a class or something like that with supplies?
I don't
Business
think
partnerships.
we've reached out to them before, but that's a very good idea. We've worked with some of our other like local arts and like we've worked with Cream City Clay and
Sewing centers mostly.
yeah, a few different other areas but not on a commercial. We've never reached out to Hobby Lobby. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, oftentimes they have sunshine clubs and other things where they'll give back to the community. Okay, I thank you for taking your time tonight to explain all this to us. Is there anyone else who has questions? Okay, do we have a motion for adjourn?
Second.
Okay, motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.